Welcome back to the Personal Injury Show. My name's Harry Nowicki. I'm a common law lawyer, together with my colleague Tony Carbone. Tony, discussing just a different sort of case, an interesting case where two employees were loading boxes onto a truck. They had a tailgate which could lower and be raised. The boxes started to fill the truck, full of library books. The one colleague lowered the tailgate. The other person was loading the boxes. As he's walking backwards, he didn't realise the tailgate had been lowered. He slipped and fell, hurt his back, very nasty injury. The defendant said the plaintiff did not keep a proper lookout. If he just turned his head and watched where he was going, no injury, bad luck, it's your fault. What happened?
Well, in that case there, Harry, what happened was this. In Victoria, we've got the Occupational Health and Safety Act. That's codified the common law. What codified the common law means is it's put into a statute. What the law says is that you've got to have a safe system for your employees. Employers aren't allowed to take shortcuts. What did they do in this case? Well, what they could have done is what we're looking at. They could have had a device in place where when the hydraulic jack lowers, it makes a beeping sound. So that warns you. Or what they should have done in this case is they should have actually given some sort of instruction to the employees that when you're doing this or when you're lowering the jack, you give out some sort of warning to your fellow employee.
It's a matter of common sense, Tony.
Yeah, common sense.
It's a matter of common sense.
Look.
Why the person lowering that tailgate should have just said, common sense, watch where you're going.
Yeah, but you don't know when you're going to lower it, Harry. If he's not going to warn you, if you go to battle, Harry, you just can't say, all right, start shoot whenever you feel like it. There's a signal coming to you from someone.
Tony, is this bloke just made a mistake? Didn't look where he was going. People who are walking should look where they're going. He was walking backwards. Why couldn't he just look around and just work out where he was?
All right. In this case here, they were working very fast. They had to do a particular job by a certain time. They weren't working at their leisure, so they weren't exactly dawdling. So they had to work pretty quick. So it's very easy for someone, through inadvertence, to walk backwards and fall over. And that's what the plaintiff said in this case. It was inadvertence as opposed to him being careless.
Can you tell us what happened in court in this case? Who what? I mean, I think both the plaintiff and defendant had arguable cases. You've got to weigh up all those that two different. Do you know what happened in court?
Well, Harry, look, I think in the first instance that's before in the county court. I think he got up.
A judge alone, said the employer was negligent.
Yep.
The employer said that's not the right decision. I'm going to appeal. What did the Court of Appeal do?
I think the Court of Appeal knocked off 60% for his own contributory negligence, and I think that's
70%.
70%. That's even worse.
70%.
That's even worse.
70%.
The law talks about safe system of work, and look, I think it was very cheap to get a device in place where it beeps. The hydraulic jack would have been beeping. But it's a warning.
But look, the Court of Appeal said he was at fault by 70%.
It's too much.
And then it went to the High Court. What did the High Court do?
I think the High Court reversed it again. I think the High Court gave him no contrib. They said that the employer did not take all reasonable precautions to ensure the safety of its employees.
Isn't that onerous?
No, it's not. Because there was evidence in this case that by some expert to say that it was a very cheap, it wouldn't have been expensive for the employer to implement this hydraulic jack with the warning device. Or alternatively, they should have given them proper training, etc., about how to conduct themselves when they're working in this environment.
It's a bit fanciful to say
it's not.
Training would have prevented this accident.
Harry, it's what we do in our system these days. In WorkCover, WorkCover is what we work under. They say that training, instruction, supervision, it's tantamount to ensuring that the workplace is safe.
But the High Court said, in effect, that mere inadvertence or mistakes or errors or a bit of carelessness, and he was careless, doesn't amount to contributory negligence. It wasn't his fault, it was the employer's fault. The High Court got it right.
I think they did.
The High Court got it right. The High Court got it wrong in another case. It was a case of a lift mechanic, and he had to paint some heavy steel girders. He was bending over for 20, 30 minutes to paint these things. He said, "Stuff it. I'm going to lift these up on a table, and I'm going to paint them from a table." He bent down to lift these girders, and as he was lifting, they were quite heavy. He was with an apprentice, yep. And as he's lifting these girders, he hurt his back. The jury said, employee, the lift mechanic was at fault 60%. The employee was 40% to blame, lift mechanic 60%. That was a jury.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you know what happened after that?
Yeah, I think it went to the Court of Appeal in that case, and they overturned that decision. They said it was too high.
They said 20%.
I think they knocked it down to 20%. And then it went on appeal again. I think the original was reinstated. Look, I think...
And what did the High Court do?
I think the High Court reinstated to 60%. I think they did. I'm not 100% sure on that.
They did?
They did.
I told you.
It's too high. It's too high.
They did.
Look...
They got it wrong.
Harry, my view is this. This bloke was experienced. That's why they knocked it down significantly. The guy had been in that industry 25 years. I think he was just lazy in terms of going to the employer and saying, "Listen, I can't bend over and do this painting of these things the way you want me to.
For 20 or 30 minutes at a time, all
I've got
day
a sore back. I've got a sore back."
Yeah.
They could have easily...
One argument was, he took the system... He took the law into his own hands. He didn't talk to the employer and
he should have gone and complained and said, "Look, there's got to be a better system. Get some sort of mechanical..." Actually, there was evidence in this case where an engineer came along and said there was a mechanical device he could have implemented at very cheap cost to the employer that would have prevented him from having to lift it off the ground. They put it on the bench. So that was good evidence, if you ask me.
Yeah, that was good evidence. In my opinion, the dissenting judge in the High Court was Justice Kirby, who's now retired. He got it right, and he wanted the Court of Appeal restored to 20%, and the majority said no. Judges disagree. It's a balancing act. All right. Contributory negligence balancing. The other thing I was going to raise with you was this matter went before a jury. Is a jury the right... 6 people plucked this off the street. Are they the right people to hear all these cases?
I'm not really sure. I mean, the thing is, the counter-argument to that is if you get an unsympathetic judge, you've got one person deciding your case. If you get a jury, you've got 6. Now, the only thing that I like about judges is they've got to give reasons in writing, and they're easier to appeal to the Court of Appeal because you can latch onto something that they've gotten wrong. With juries, they've got no reason. They don't give reasons in writing. Prejudice kick in more. And they make some really funny decisions, really strange decisions.
But funny decisions by juries can be appealed.
They're very hard to appeal, Harry. I mean, they've got to be perverse and more often
than not... Well, if they do make strange decisions, they just, I don't want to upset
our judges, but I think our judges are a lot easier to appeal than the juries.
No, they are a lot easier.
Because they're in writing. I mean, you can latch onto something. You don't want to, I mean...
But Victoria still retains jury trials for civil matters in damages. Throughout Australia, it's all criminal. All criminal trials are jury trials in Australia, but they've abolished juries in New South Wales, and I think most other states. I think Victoria is the last stronghold of juries. We think that
at the moment I'm not. I don't know if it's a good idea.
It's a flip of the coin.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it? Flip of the coin.
I'm not sure if it's a good idea to abolish them at this stage. Look, we've run cases where we've won before a jury and we think it would have been pretty tough for 4 judges and vice versa. So, look, a lot of judges are pretty understanding. They know the law well. They generally bend over backwards to look after the...
But the juries, the judges direct juries about the law and they tell the juries what is the law.
How often has a jury got off on a tangent and done their own thing? I mean, I was in a case not long ago where the jury just did the opposite to what the judge was trying to direct them to do.
Okay. Well, that may have been appealed. We've got to take a break and we'll be back after the break for our final segment on the Personal Injury Law Show. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.